Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Conversations on the Patio with Crystal and Jevon. I have with me my friend and confidant and uh, co-host, Crystal
Host.
Mitchell. How are you, Crystal?
I am good. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy post Valentine's Day. And I guess today is President's Day. So happy President's Day.
Indeed, indeed. So this is a show that talks about things that we should have been taught in school, especially about finance and retirement. We came upon this show, Crystal and I, after we met on LinkedIn, and we began to realize that there are lots of people out there that um, get information from people that they love and care about, but that information isn't always appropriate. So we wanted to put some good information out about some topics that people just don't know a whole lot about. So, as you heard in the beginning, working this show with me, my co-host is Crystal Mitchell. And Crystal, if it's okay with you, I just want to share a little bit about your background. I have somewhat of a what do you call those background things that people have?
Bio.
Bio. Thank you. It's gonna be
It's
that
got
kind
a
of morning.
bio.
So, welcome, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant, CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. She's the co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. It's another radio show. And she's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and last but not least, a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Welcome, Crystal. Thanks for joining me.
And thank you. And you got that pro advisor thing all down now,
It's taken a while. It's taken.
huh? It's something that is very valuable right now during the tax season.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Well, how
So
are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Got some pretty interesting questions to talk about today. We were going to have my colleague and financial advisor Regina online, but we've got some issues with compliance, so hopefully we can do that in the next couple of weeks. But for today, I thought it might be good if we went through some questions that people have about getting ready for retirement, if that's okay with you.
Well, can we tell everybody why we're even here, period?
Sure.
What the conversations on the patio is all about?
Sure. I thought I said that. Answering questions for people about things they hear on the patio and their friends and stuff. We said that. We did that.
Oh, okay, okay. I wasn't sure if I heard that. Okay, well, we're ready to go.
Okay. So you've got the questions there, but I'll go ahead and kick it off and then just jump in when you'd like.
Okay,
So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at my phone at the question.
okay,
So the
okay.
first question is, when should I begin taking Social Security? And I remember reading that question, and I had to read the article a couple of times because it said something like, the later you wait, the more money you get. And that took me back a little bit. But most people realize that if you wait later in your life to take the retirement, you happen to get more in your check. And most people are under the fallacy that that's a good thing, right? Most people are on the fallacy of believing that, oh, if I take it early, I get less, and so that means I get less money, and da 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 da. And so I want
Mm-hmm,
to wait as late as possible. And
mm-hmm,
many financial advisors would suggest that as well. They'd say, look, if you can hold off until 67 or 70, do that because you get
mm-hmm,
more money.
mm-hmm.
The problem with that, and we talked about this a little while ago, is well, first I want to say that's a good policy. That's not a bad thing to say. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But the problem with that is that many people haven't saved at all for retirement. They just haven't done
Mm,
it, and so they're looking forward to having 12 or 15 or $1,800 come into their lives, but they don't realize that that's going to be the big part of their portfolio as they're going to be
yeah.
living on Social Security. And that's tough. So I would say if you can, before you get to Social Security, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, think about just think about taking that money early, maxing out your Social Security dollars while you're still in your 401k plan, taking that
Mm-hmm.
Social Security money, putting that into your 401k, right?
Mm,
And if you can
mm-hmm.
do that from your 62 to 72, now you've got 10 years of, let's say, 1800 to maybe 2500 if you're over 50, if you do it right. So now you've got
Mm-hmm.
18 years, I'm sorry, you've got 10 years of 2500. That's $25,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? 10 years of 2500.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got $25,000 that I can, I'm sorry,
It's two hundred and fifty
$250,000.
thousand dollars, right? Mm-hmm.
$250,000. Now I've got $250,000 that I can go out onto the market and buy an annuity.
Mm. Yes.
Plus, I still have that Social Security money coming in, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
got guaranteed income coming from an annuity. I've got guaranteed income coming from the government as far as Social Security. I'm off on a much better situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been contributing all along, you may even have a little bit more than just that $250,000. Maybe you've got 300,000 or what have you, right? So that's a
Right.
much better position to be in, Social Security plus an annuity. So you want to think about that when you're talking about, what I should do now. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't wait, but if you have the opportunity to work for 10 more years or so after 62, consider using that Social Security money to develop an annuity stream. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I know for that Social Security, I think we talked about this a little bit last week as well. Is checking early to make sure. I was having a conversation with my cousin this past weekend, and she's ready to retire or ready to collect her Social Security in retirement. But when she got the notification, she went back and did the processing. Somehow or another, some of her hours, you remember we talked about what they needed, the 10 weeks or
40 weeks,
some
yes.
the 40
Yeah.
weeks. We talked about that last week, and they weren't not there.
Mm.
And so based upon that, they gave her, awarded her a smaller amount monthly, and she knew she had the time in. But sometimes some things, especially I think if you, and I don't know, you can correct me, but if your name changes, you get married, there's some things that can take place that can throw it off. If you go in and do a full name change when you get married, then making sure that all of those pieces get connected when it's time to retire.
You are so right, and you're so spot on. You definitely want to check early, and it happens both ways, right? So if you get married, there may be a mix up there. If you get divorced and you've been with your spouse
Uh,
for a number of years, don't quote me on what that is. That's probably going to change. But if you've been with your spouse for a number of years, you may be entitled to part of their Social Security. So you definitely want to check. You definitely want to ask those questions and go to, I would say, start off by going to ssa.gov and ask those questions. So yes,
right, and going early. Don't wait until like 5 minutes before you get ready to retire, because the
right.
process is long. From what I'm understanding, my cousin was saying it was a pretty long process, and so she was saying maybe I'll contest it. I'm gonna go take what they're gonna give me, and I'm gonna test it because if I got to start back all over again, then the process is so long. And especially we're in COVID right now, so nothing is working like it was working
Right,
before.
right.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna see if I can find the second question here.
So actually, you want me to read it out?
Have you got it? Yeah,
I
that'd be great.
do.
Go ahead.
It says, how long, question two, how long will my money last?
Oh boy. Yeah, I remember reading this when I was preparing for the show today. And that's such a tough question. I would say this that if you've made it to 60, the research that I've seen suggests you're going to make it to 90. If you're 60 now, you're going to make it to
Okay.
90. So the old
Okay.
idea of retiring in 10 years, that's just not appropriate. So we're looking at 30 years for a lot of us, and for many of us, dramatically more than that.
Mm,
So I would say you want to plan for at least 30 years, right?
30 years. Yeah.
Here's
So
the
it's
deal
because
though.
that's, what's that?
Um, those 30 years may not be good years, right?
Through that.
Right? So I
Right.
have a friend that studies long-term care insurance, and he says we're
Mm-hmm.
all going to go. The decision is, are you going to go slow or are you going to go fast? And so, you want to
Right.
look at that family history, and depending on what your situation is, that may look different. Do understand for most of us, men do die sooner than women do. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to be the male spouse, you may put that in the mix as well, depending on your family history as far as how long you're going to need credit. And if you talk
Mm-hmm.
with someone who sells insurance, life insurance, you can put riders on those policies, and depending on if you are the man or the woman, that can determine, with all of your insurance things, how long you make this
Mm-hmm.
last. So, do you
Mm-hmm.
need to get paid up for the first 10 years? And then after that, your beneficiary doesn't get paid or gets paid a lesser amount? Or is
Mm-hmm.
it the next 15 years? Do they get a lesser amount then? Or do you get the same amount for the next 15 years? Are you expecting an inheritance that's going to kick in? Right? Or are you one of those folks that's pretty healthy and have a family history where people stay pretty healthy until they pass in their early 70s?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
all a thing. So, how long?
Yeah, because
Think
there's
about
some
it as a
other,
while.
in addition to that, is are you going to, incur any medical expenses during that time? I mean, we're getting older, right? And I've heard so many horror stories from people who retired and they were already had these phenomenal plans already. They were going to travel around the world. They were going to spend time with their grandkids, piddling in their garden, doing volunteer work, maybe working as a greeter at Walmart. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever, their free time, maybe of donating and volunteering at businesses, and then they get sick.
Yes.
And now they all of the money and the stuff that they're planning, as you say, don't you have to plan,
You
right?
got a
But
plan.
then
Yeah.
you don't plan if you're going to get sick to a point where you actually cannot work, and now all your monies are going back out into medical expenses.
Hmm. Very well said. Very well said. Shall we move on to
Right.
number three?
Yes, we shall.
I actually have number three. How about
Okay.
that?
Weird. One little side note, I can't find us on Facebook right now, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, it says it's live. I just can't find us.
Yeah. And I wrote the little tidbit as well. I feel a little
Yeah, I
cheated.
don't know. Yeah, well, it's okay. I'll find it while you keep talking.
Okay, alrighty. So number three, how much money do I need to retire? And this is just as
Yeah.
difficult as the last question. One rule of thumb that I use to tell people is that your retirement income streams, that is, whatever it is you're going to use for retirement, be that Social
Mhm.
Security, annuities, bonds that you have, your 401k, all of that stuff is a technical word that we use. All that
Stuff.
you need to put that into a pot and look at what it generates. So not just a habit, but look at what it generates. If it generates at least 110% of your take-home pay, and it's going to do that continuously, then you're probably in a good spot. A little bit more would be good. 120% would be excellent. But if you can get to
Mhm.
110%, now, when I first started in this business, back when I had hair, we used to say that that you should have your portfolio should generate about 80% of uh, your take home pay. And the reason we would say that is, people didn't have to go into the office and they didn't have to do the dry cleaning. So they could cut down on gas, and they just weren't going out as much, right? And I
Mhm.
think people
Mhm.
were actually passing away, to be honest with you, dramatically earlier than they are now. They weren't
Oh, much
starting,
earlier than yeah.
yeah, they weren't starting second careers. Like folks come to you right after they've been working for a while and they're ready to get going. My dad started his business after he retired. So the
Oh yeah, it's a common thing for me to coach people on what I call their second act, and then some of them are actually on their third act.
sure, yeah, so that could
And
be
well in their 70s. Some of
yeah,
them, I have a client right now. She's an author. She's 70. 8,
Hmm. And
and
going
she's
strong?
going strong,
Yeah.
going strong.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So when it comes to how much money do I need to retire, I would say we want to aim on or aim at 110% at least of our take home pay. And one of the things that we found is that people not only live longer, but they're busier and they do more stuff that costs money. They do all the stuff they didn't have time to do when they were working. It's just now they have a limited income. So they may go visit the grandkids, they may go around Europe, they may start that business. They may do all kinds of things. And so they end up living on more than they used to when they were actually working.
Mm,
So I think the pivotal word there is 110% of your pre-retirement income that
okay.
your investment should generate.
Okay. Okay. That makes
Okay,
sense.
you want to go to number four? Have you got number four?
Yeah, I do have number 4, and number 4 is, should I buy an annuity?
Ooh, man, we could do a whole hour on should I buy an annuity. Um, I'm going to
So
say
let's
right
first
off the bat. Go ahead.
So annuity, for those that may have questions, annuity is an insurance product that insures your income for life. And if you have other sources of guaranteed income, such as Social Security and a pension, those sources cover most of your living expenses, and you probably don't have a need. But that's what an annuity is. It covers your income for life. So
Exactly.
take it away, Mr. Guru.
Okay. Um, I have a love-hate relationship with annuities. First of all, an annuities is just what it says. It's an annuitized payment. So you put money in, and
Mm-hmm.
then when the time comes, a certain amount of money will come to you, and you can set them up so that they come to you for life, which is really cool.
Okay.
You put the money in, you buy the policy, they last for life. Here's the problem.
Okay.
The chances that you're going to get a great return from an annuity are pretty slim, right? Most financial
Mm,
advisors will say that we can get you a better deal on your annuity right here when you give us a bunch of money than we can if you do it over a period of time, right? So if you're looking
oh,
to
okay.
make, if you're looking to make money on your annuity over a period of time, because most people can't just dump $200,000 or whatever into an annuity. They got to do it over
Mhm.
time. So if you're thinking of making a great return, you got to remember that the insurance company that offers you that annuity is going to take some of that. They're going to take some of that premium, and they're not going to. They may not let you go as down as far, but they're certainly going to take some of that money from you. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh, mhm.
All right. So that's one thing. Fast forward to okay, I'm buying this annuity because I need money throughout the rest of my life. I actually think that's a good way to go because you get that guaranteed income. And most of us as Americans are used to getting a paycheck. We're used to knowing, okay, X amount of dollars is coming on the first, X amount of dollars
Mhm,
is coming on the 15th. Now I can
mhm.
budget my life. And annuities are great for that, which then begs the question okay, since I'm pretty much know I'm going to get an annuity, and it's not a bad thing,
Mhm.
should I just get one through my 401k plan? Because I need that stability, right? I
Right,
need to
right.
know I'm going to get this or I'm going to get that. I haven't seen a decent annuity in a 401k plan since I've been here.
Really?
And I haven't, not at all. They do present a bit of a floor on their return as they're going along. And then you have that opportunity to move that money or to make a choice as to when that money is going to get paid out. That's generally how
Mm,
they go.
mhm,
The CARES Act helped us with some of those, and so now they're trying to make them more portable, where you can go from one company to the next company. Actually, I think that
mhm,
happened a few years ago, where you can move them around. But
mhm,
like I said, the return it's not that great. So, as a person who's in this field, and I'm just giving you my opinion, I'm not a fan of the in-plan annuity. I'm fairly risk accommodating, so you have to take
mhm.
my personality into point. Not everybody is. If you need stability, if you need to know that you're going to have at least a little something coming in for the rest of your life, then an annuity can be a great product for you because you put some money in, the transfers comes, you get a very small amount, but you do get something. Right?
So they don't necessarily. So one would think in the us lay our lay people like myself that they would work kind of hand in hand together because they're going to benefit the individual in their retirement, right? So that they would, are they not keeping up, or they are in competition with any other products or plans that you have for your retirement? Or
Well, I'm
annuities are
gonna,
just there to be super, super safe.
yeah. So there's a couple of things going on here, right? There's one,
Okay.
in order for us to make money to retire, we have to invest in the market for most of us, right? We've got to put the
Right.
money in, it's going to return. We're going to take that windfall and we're going to do something with that so that we can live on it for the rest of our lives. What are we going to do with that? Well, if we
Right.
keep it in the
Yes.
market, it's going to be volatile, it's going to go up and
Exactly.
down. So we need a place to put that money so that we get automatic payments and we don't have to worry about it going up and down, right? We know what it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Sense? Are you with me?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I'm with you.
so
I'm with you.
okay. So annuities are perfect for that. They're perfect for getting a certain amount of cash every month for the rest of your life. They're an awesome vehicle for that. Okay. The problem is
Okay.
the cash that you get is going to be dependent upon several factors, and one of those big ones is the amount you put in. Make sense?
Mm.
So if you put in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
500,000 versus putting in a million, the amount that you get out on a monthly basis is going to be dramatically different. Make
Okay.
sense? Right? So if
Okay.
I
That
if
makes
I buy
sense.
an
That makes
annuity for
sense.
five
Okay.
hundred thousand dollars and my friend buys an annuity for $100,000 and they're both exactly the same, I should expect that my $500,000 annuity should do better than his $100,000 annuity. That is, I should get more money
Yes.
every month. Make sense? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And so having that big chunk of money is a good thing. And often what will happen is um, folks will hire that financial advisor and say, look, I've got X amount of dollars in my 401k plan. I
Mm-hmm.
need to live on X amount of dollars for the rest of my days. And the financial advisor will say, well, okay, you've got these monies coming in from all kinds of sources. You've got a 401k plan.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this. Let's take all of that money, see what that is going to get us. Let's take part of that money that's in your 401k, move that into an IRA so that we can still be in the market a little bit. But let's take the
Mm-hmm.
majority of money that's in that 401k, put that into an annuity so you've got guaranteed income. You know what you're going to get. That's
Mm.
one strategy. There's lots, but
Okay.
that's one strategy. Okay. And I think annuities
Okay.
are great for that. All right. So another reason people invest in annuities is that they realize that they can get and I don't want to use the word guarantee because that's not a good word here in financial services, but they get a return that has a
Mm-hmm.
floor on it, right? That is, that the insurance company promises that
Mm.
your return won't go lower than X. Let's say it won't go lower than zero or half a point above the S&P or something, right?
Okay.
All right. They also say,
Okay.
all right, so it's got a floor. It also has a ceiling,
Right. Right.
right? So if the
Ah.
S&P
Mm-hmm.
hits 10%, your ceiling may be 5% or 6%,
Mm.
but you don't lose money
Mm-hmm.
under when the S&P goes to zero. So many people will say, I'll take that risk, right? I'll take a lesser return so that I
Mm.
don't lose
Mm-hmm.
money. So I'm going to say right here and right now, as a 401k specialist, that you want to be careful because that's a false way of thinking, right? Most people think I want to buy low and sell high, right? And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
tough to buy low and sell high if it doesn't go low,
No. Very true.
right?
That's a true fact.
Right? It's tough to buy low,
Right.
it doesn't go low, right? So if you've
It's
got that
not low,
floor,
and it's not
right,
gonna go.
it's not going to go that low, right? So your chances of buying
Right. Right.
low and then seeing that big windfall when it goes up, they're severely limited. Make
Mm.
sense?
Mm. Okay.
Okay, right?
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Okay.
So In the 401k plan, we want to buy low. So when the market tanks, that's an opportunity for us to, you're supposed to
That's
say
for us
buy,
to increase our to
to
buy
buy.
to
We want to
buy
buy
to buy.
whatever's
Okay.
low, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the market goes low, we want to buy low.
Whenever
The
it's
market goes
low, you want to
high,
be able to buy. Yeah.
that's right. When it goes high, we want to sell.
You don't want to buy. You want to sit tight and wait.
No, we
Right.
want to
Okay.
sell. Let's
Okay.
sell it,
Sell. We want to
right?
sell.
Right?
Okay.
Because we want to buy low,
Yes. Yes.
sell high, right? And it's going to do that throughout our career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're buying low and you're selling high
Okay.
and it never goes down and it never goes up, when do you buy and sell?
Right. So it's just sitting there, right?
Right. You're getting some growth. Or if
You're
it
just
buy if
sitting
if
there getting right. You're
right? So if you're buying low and it doesn't go very low, it goes a little bit low, your opportunity to buy low is decreased, right? And your opportunity to make profit when it goes
mm-hmm.
up
Mm-hmm.
is decreased. So for most Americans, many of my fellow advisors will say they don't take enough risk, right? They don't save enough coming in. They
Mm.
don't take enough risk so they can take advantage of the market. What an annuity does is it
Okay.
smooths out those lows and highs for you. It's very conservative. I have a friend that's in
Mm.
one now, and I just shake my head. He's like in his late 30s, and he's in this annuity. It doesn't go up very high. It doesn't go low very high. It's nice and steady. It's not nice and steady at 9 and 10%. It's not nice and steady at 6 and 8%. It's nice and steady at 2 or 3%. Just doing
Wow.
him not very much
No.
good,
Okay.
right? Right.
And
So,
it now, but if he kept that going, he's in his 30s, so and he's probably not going to retire until he's 60 or 70, probably more closer to 70. He actually could accumulate, but still is going to be going in that slow. So he probably needs to add a little bit of risk to his portfolio in order to when would you say that would happen? So he's in his 30s, and I think we've had this conversation. So maybe about 45, because we're getting kind of up there. Should he now, since he's already made this, he's taken this path.
mhm.
So should he really now, when he gets to be 40, 45, to start looking at being a little bit more taking a little bit on more risks in order for him to grow his monies?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, without talking to him, there's no way for us to know. We have to look at his
Right.
whole portfolio and what his life is suggesting there. But I had an old boss that would say, if you're not going to take risk, save a lot, right? If you're not going to take risk,
Right.
then you need to be saving a lot, right? Because you don't have the risk
Yeah.
to balance that out. So, maybe he should work for putting that $250,000 in his savings account as often as he can, right? Because we put in a savings account,
Mm,
FDIC insured, whereas you put it in the market, it can go up and down. My ex girlfriend,
mhm,
for a
mhm.
while, she hated retirement plans because she was seeing the money go down and then she'd see the fees. She had no idea this long term thing. Even though she was in a relationship with me, she couldn't
Mhm.
get this concept of long term. So I would say to her, well, you're relatively young. If you're not going to take the risk, put that money in some place where you can at least hold on to it, but you got to put a lot in there because you're not getting that
Right.
compounding of 7 or 8% or 4% or 10%. You're not getting that. Right?
Mhm,
So for
mhm.
him, the advice is if you're going to go slow, if you're going to make sure that you're always going to get a little bit, then you need to save a whole lot,
A
dramatically more
whole
than
lot, a
someone who's
whole
going to
lot.
take some risk. So the whole point
And
is
that's so
that,
interesting because there's so
go ahead. The point is what
I'm
now?
sorry. I said that's so interesting because there's so many other, you got other external stuff going on all the time. So you gotta always be It sounds like you always have to be strategizing and thinking, or better yet, have an advisor that you can strategize with so that you can make sure that each step along the way you're taking care of, and you're going to be taking care of what you need to now, so later on you don't get caught.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the next question there. I'm sorry. I think you're
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you're right in a lot of ways. It is strategizing, but the thing is, if you get a plan set up early, if you can do that
Mm-hmm.
and follow that plan, you're going to be so much
Mm,
more off. And the plan is simple: buy low, sell high.
mm-hmm.
Get a well
Yeah.
diversified portfolio with the right mix of stocks and bonds for you. Reevaluate, rebalance that portfolio every year or so, or when your life changes, and put in as much as you can. It's not tough.
Mm,
It's not that tough. But not doing that is really tough. And getting confused by these folks that promise quick results and say this never works, and I mean that's where you get confused, and that's why we're doing the show, right? A friend of
mm-hmm.
mine called me up and said, "Hey, my buddy's making tons of money on options. Can't you tell me how to make option how to use options?" And I said, "You can't even pay rent, right? You're calling me up saying, 'Hey Jay, can you send me $100 for rent?' Like 2 months ago, right? No, I'm not
Uh-huh.
telling you about options. You need to
Yeah.
get 6 months worth of bills and expenses and do a 401k. Oh, your guy doesn't do a 4. Oh, all right. Get an IRA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you get
Mm-hmm.
your 6 months of bills and you get an IRA, then we can talk about options, maybe. But
Yeah.
you don't have it there, right? So you have to be careful to go off not to go off on these ideas that extremely wealthy people use, because wealthy people lose money all the time. You don't just get it and
Right.
keep making it, right? You get it, you lose some, you get it, you lose some, and most people can't handle the loss. Their stomachs can't take it.
And they're wealthy, so they're not playing with their whole entire wealth package.
Exactly.
They have a certain amount. It's like going to Vegas. I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm a gambler. So here I got this X of dollars I'm going to use.
Yep.
And hopefully, if you have some discipline and some control, you're going to stay within that, right? Depending
Yes.
on,
Hopefully, if
your,
you have discipline and control. Very
yeah,
interesting
that's
that you put that in there.
he has a discipline and control. And something is a trigger. You got a girlfriend, you got a best friend, say, okay, that's enough. You hit your limit,
Right,
and
right,
then
right, right, right.
or as somebody I know, somebody told me their strategy is I'm taking $1,000. I'm gonna invest that. When I get my $1,000 back and above that, it's like profit, right? So
Yep.
I'm gonna take my investment back out, and
Yeah.
I'm only gonna play on that, and my investment goes back away. So
Yes.
yeah, you got to think of it like that,
Yeah.
um, for
Yeah.
it to work for you, right? So you got to be able to structure. But that's what wealthy people do. They don't just go and say, "Okay, here's my $5 billion net worth, and I'm gonna throw it on out there." No, they got X amount of dollars set aside for
Sure.
them to be. They have their risk tolerance. They have several levels they work on. That my super resistant investments. That's what Warren Buffett does, and I really like him because he invests. His strategy is to invest on things that people use every single day that they never ever going to stop using. So toilet paper,
Mm,
household products,
sure.
railroads, transportation, things
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
then when he sees that it's not working, like recently, he just I don't know why, but he just sold all of his grocery store, his Ralph stock.
Mm,
But that's what he does. So he's not betting the whole store on
right.
all this risk stuff. He has
Right.
his super risk resistant products, and then he has his medium, and then he has
Sure.
his okay. I need to make some money,
Yeah.
and I'm going to play this for a little short period of time. So yeah,
Sure.
no,
Yeah. He's also not
right?
putting his house up. Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. He's
yeah.
also
He's
not
not
putting his
doing his
house up.
house.
You're not saying,
Yeah,
okay, this is where the wife and kids are. Let me risk their livelihood,
right.
to buy some Ralph stock. That's just not his deal. And Warren Buffett, he's made money hand over
Hands over
fist because we
fist.
don't do that. But he's
Yeah.
not in that position where my friends are, where
Hmm.
they need to make money on options because they heard someone made money on options.
Yeah, yeah. So that's, it makes a different. Yeah, you have to kind of think differently. What is it? one of the actors said, because it's a gamble, in the acting world, especially when you're early on, right? I think it was George Clooney. He said when he made a big chunk of money off a movie that he did, he went and bought him his house up in Hollywood. He paid cash for it, and he said, so no matter what would happen in a downturn or an upturn, my house is paid for. I paid for it in cash. Only thing I got to worry about is the property taxes at the end of the year. And he had a little fund set up so that he wouldn't. That's the only thing. The fund money went in for the property taxes. So
Yeah,
he said I would always have a home. And finally, after all these years, he's a billionaire,
sure,
super mega star right
sure.
now, right? When he got married, he finally, after they had been married for about 3 years, 4 years, he finally sold that house.
Mm.
Well, that's when he finally felt secure. Now that's like 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. He felt secure enough
He
to
could sell the
sell.
house. Oh my
He
God.
can sell that house. But before that, nope, that was one asset that stayed on the books because he owned it straight out.
Yeah, you gotta like that. Gotta like that. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to take this opportunity to introduce you once more. So, can I do that?
Okay. Yes, you
Okay.
can.
So, hello everybody. Joining me today is Crystal Mitchell, my cohort and co-host on this show. She's a business consultant, CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, that other weekly radio show,
Show.
instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and
Mhm.
she's a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. I'm Jevon Thomas. I work as a registered licensed retirement advisor, and we are here on Conversations on the Patio with Crystal and Jevon. Okay, let's go to our next question, and it kind of goes into the one we kind of talked about a little bit before. How much will I need? Is how much will I spend? And I think, who knows, right? You're going to spend everything you can, is the way that goes. There's some folks have this idea that they're going to leave money for their kids and da da da. But as you suggested, college comes up, medical expenses come up. You're going to spend a lot of money. So the question is, we have to look at how much we're going to spend on a regular basis, but we got to look at how much we have to, right? The last thing that I would say about that is try not to limit your retirement income on how much you have right now and what you can
Mhm.
afford right now. Put away as much as you can and then talk with your financial advisor to help you get a budget so that you know what's up, so that you know what's coming, so you don't get surprised, right? We
Mhm.
don't want surprises at this time. Okay.
And I'm going to say that, especially that B word that a lot of people don't like to use, but budget is really something that help keeps us grounded. I tell my entrepreneur, my business owners that I coach always on a regular basis, especially depending on where they are. If they're starting a business, lay out what your expenses are. Because that help you make the decision when you're going to exit from your stable paycheck every 2 weeks corporate job, when you can actually make that migration full time into your new entrepreneurial gig, right?
Right.
Business, and making sure that you are generating at least on a basic level the same amount of money that you were making when you were working for someone, including benefits, including your taxes, including all of that. So now when you're there, now you can say, okay, I am a full time into my business. I am paying myself just like I was when I was working for someone else, but I have a budget, so I'll know what my increased expenditures are going to be, and making sure you're putting aside that money
Retirement.
for retirement. Yeah, for retirement, and the emergency plan and contingency plans. So it requires planning, right? So and I always tell them, make sure you incorporate your family in this a budget, not just yourself. Just make sure you're covering. If you have a husband, what if he loses, or a wife, what if they lose their job? What if the child gets ill, or we're going to have children? So make sure you got it. It's a big thing, and they should revisit that budget on a annual basis, because sometimes we get caught up and we're paying for stuff, especially nowadays, right? Because we're paying for stuff electronically. So it's not like it's coming through your bank account, but you're not
Right.
sitting tied to your bank account like you used to, because you
Right.
couldn't go online. You're just kind of looking at it day to day. It's like, oh, I got this much money here. Oh, okay. But not really knowing until the end of the month. And who reconciles the bank statement? Except for me in the accounting. Look at that face. In the accounting world, we do reconciliations at the end of the month, and you're going like, oh, how did I spend that much money? So
I do
having
that.
a right, having that personal financial budget is really, really important.
You're right, and there's so many places you can get it. And if you do work for a corporation, so many of their benefits include how to develop the budget, where they are. You can get them online. There's really no excuse not to have a budget. But you're so right, and I love the conversation that you had about, include your family, because when it comes to someone planning for retirement, for most of us, that's a family event. Right? It's going to affect the family, so it should include the family. It's not something you want to do alone. And for many of us, that's asking some really tough questions and even asking ourselves some tough questions about what we want that to look like and how we're going to make it look like that. So I think you're spot on. It is a
Exactly.
is
Uh,
a family thing. Okay.
It's a family affair. One thing, and this is going to lead us into question 6, make sure you understand that your employer is not going to be paying your healthcare premiums anymore. And
Yes.
so make sure you're going out and talking to someone in the healthcare field, because healthcare with affordable healthcare has taken on some different elements, right? And so if you don't have health insurance, then there's penalties to that. So you really have to really think that out and make sure you have the right plan for you or yourself. And you're more than likely not going to have the same plan that you had, especially if you worked at a really excellent company. You're not going to have the same plan that you had
Yes.
when you were working. So you
Yes.
got to think about that. Normally, you're going to have higher deductibles,
Hmm.
um, and some things like that. And then also the prescriptions, because if you have any chronic ailments, you'll have to be spending money, and pharmaceuticals are just outrageous. So definitely spend time thinking what that look is going to be. And so if you have chronic illnesses like diabetes or high blood pressure, know as you get older, those health issues exacerbate as you get older. And then your medical expenses are going to be higher, and definitely your prescription is going to be higher. And don't forget long-term health care.
It's so true. I can't agree with you more. And I don't even think I can say anything to that, except, don't forget long-term health care. And, if you get to be my age, long-term health care is just not in the picture. I mean, there's just no way
Yeah,
we're going to pay for that, right? So it's a good thing to teach your children about while
long-term.
they're young so they
Hmm.
can start that. Also, that HSA program. And for many of
Hmm.
us, that's a good way to put an extra $2,000, $3,000 away. If we can max out our 401k, I'm going to say, right?
Hmm.
Put that extra money in the HSA. And then, when it comes to paying for medical expenses, there is Medicare. You have to get that, but you got to pay for that Part B or C or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
You've got to
Hmm.
hit that nut, um, and put that in the plan, right? You got to put that in the plan. And I'm going to say for
Yeah.
many of us, if you haven't heard of Cobra and you are switching your jobs, think about Cobra and think about it long and hard. I have a friend that didn't think about Cobra, got caught in the middle where she wasn't able to apply for it, didn't know about it. The time period extended, and she had massive issues. Ruined her 401k, house got lost, all kinds of stuff paying for medical bills. So it is a big deal, and there's no good answer. There just isn't. You
Hmm.
know, you either
I
maintain
think
your
we should definitely
insurance or
make
you
sure
don't.
on our right. I think we should add on our list of guests someone that's really expertise in the health, in the medical, and the medical. I mean, your social security medical expenses in retirement. So somebody that really can help you understand the Cobra and all of that sort of stuff.
No, yeah,
Unless
it's
that's you.
definitely a good. Yeah, what's that?
Is
Unless
that
it's
you?
me.
That's not
No,
you.
that's not me.
Okay.
I got somebody. You know, I got
Okay.
somebody,
Okay.
but
Well,
that's
yeah,
not
let's
me.
bring that person on because those are big questions. And so that leads us into question number 6. How will I pay for medical expenses in retirement? So we talk about Medicare, health, Medi-Cal, was it Medicare, healthcare, it starts at 65, and
Yeah.
then it only covers about 50% of your total healthcare expenses in retirement. So like you
Hmm.
said, going into to that. So I think yeah, that's a big one right there because,
It
you know,
is. Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that we're
yeah.
all gonna run into, you know.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's kind of cool. I mean, you start those, you get to be 65 or so, and you get the thing. You got to sign up. You get to apply for the silver sneakers and the other silver products or whatever there are. But 50%, and then you got to pay for that bill, and you got to do it. My dad went through it, and he says, "I have better insurance. Why do I need this one?" And the Medicare people said, "We don't care what you have. You're paying for this. You keep that if you want, but you're paying for this."
And
So
it's interesting. You don't know that you don't need it until you have some like my mom had excellent health insurance when she worked she was a nurse. And so when she retired, she had her health package that she through Cobra and whatever. But when she got really ill, I was her advocator and her caregiver. And one of the things we had to do was move everything out of her name. And then we had to change all of her insurance over to her Medicare. And the reason why was because when we were going through extensive treatment for her a cancer treatment, it had to go through so many hoops and uh, we had to go through so much just to get treatments approved
mhm,
that it was delaying the process of her treatment. And
right.
so what I had to do is I switched everything. Her doctor told me this. Her doctor specialized in geriatrics, and her doctor said, get her out of all of her other insurance with the parts and whatever. Just put her in total Medicare because once you do that, you don't have to have any approval from any healthcare plan provider person that's preventing you from getting the care that your mother needs. And so
Mm.
at that point, everything got easier. The drugs,
Mm.
being able to get the pharmaceuticals, being able to get her in care facilities, if we had to go into the hospital, how long she would stay in the hospital, all of it changed. And it was an amazing weight off of my shoulders because I had to spend most of my time fighting for approval.
Sounds horrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds bad.
so that's something that for those that are going to be taking care of their loved ones that have in that retirement mode, you want one designate somebody is going to be your advocate, and that person should have a fiery barracuda kind of personality because you're going to need it. And then two, make sure, like we talked about the reverse mortgage, make sure you understand all of the options that you have on the table and don't just get locked into one.
That's so, so true. I can't add very much to that at all, but I would just emphasize what you said about make sure someone is there to take care of you. Someone has to go to the doctor. Someone has to go to the pharmacist. Someone has to go with you with a pad that writes things down, that keeps people accountable. And I'm not suggesting that the medical field is not they're not worthy individuals, but they have a whole lot going on. They got a lot of
Mhm.
things to do to make money, just like in your job. You got a lot of stuff going on. And so you need someone there that's going to say, hey, this is what you said last time, or this is what this guy said. How does that work?
Mhm.
So make sure you get
Mhm.
some kind of case management type of person there that's going to keep everybody in tune and do it early. Don't
Mhm.
wait. Don't put your family through not involving them in this process because it will not work out good for them if you do. They're and you
Yeah.
you just
And the
have to
other
do
thing,
that.
right, and the other thing, Javon, and this is a hard pill for most people to swallow, is I don't know what it is, but once you go to a doctor and you're over the age of 68, 69, definitely if you're in the 70 age range, they don't listen to you anymore. They don't hear you, like you don't understand your body and that you don't know your body. They almost start speaking to you like you're a child.
Hmm.
And so you come in with your list and they're not hearing you. And they're saying,
Mm,
"Oh, well, we know better than they do," thinking you're almost too feeble to take care of yourself. And so you
mm.
really have that advocate has to be there to say, "Did you hear? Did you just hear what he said? Are you listening to them?
Yeah,
they have this problem going on," and that's where it's important for an advocate.
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay,
At
are we
least,
ready to go on to question
yeah,
number 7?
we are, we are.
Okay. Question number 7 is, should I take my pension as a lump sum? What do you think?
Um, my brother-in-law has been going through this. I think if you have a excellent advisor and they have helped you plan on how you're going to where you're going to put that money and how it's going to be reinvested and what the
Hmm.
tax penalties are going to be and all that sort of stuff, possibly. But I think if you've been working for a living and you've been getting a paycheck once a month, every 10 days, whatever
Uh-huh.
you've been doing, I think you might want to leave it take out some to take care of whatever you need to take care of. But I think you should be getting a check month to month. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I like it. I think it makes good sense. I think you're spot on. If you're used to getting a paycheck, you want to keep getting that paycheck. If you're one of the fortunate individuals that has a pension, and that could be in the form of a defined benefit plan, or it could be a straight up pension, like you're a state worker or city worker or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would say if you're going to get a pension, it's a good idea to take that. Usually, usually when you get a pension, you get to decide how you're going to get that payment. Right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you automatically get X amount of dollars. So, for example, when your and my grandfather were working, you'd work for a company, and your pension would be um, you'd take 3 of your highest grossing years, add those together, get
Mhm.
75% of what those were, and you could calculate what your pension was going to be, and so you knew what your what your what your paycheck is going to be. um, those situations are becoming
Mhm.
more and more rare. That is the pension thing. So lots of folks just don't have the choice as to whether they're going to get
Mm.
a pension or not. And for those of us that are, that pension is dwindling dramatically because it's expensive for a company to keep that
Mm.
money on the books and keep adding to that every year. It's getting more and more expensive for that to happen. We I sell them all the time, and we don't sell them to everybody, so they can be tough for a company to maintain. So,
Mm.
as a person, what do you do? And we have this question with the lottery as well, right? So you win the lottery. Do you take the money in the pension lump sum, or do you spread it out over the payments? In
Right.
general, I
Well, you got
say,
to know that.
go ahead, Crystal. Did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm coming. I don't know what's happening. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Am I there? Okay.
Yeah. So what were you going to choose? Lump sum
No.
with the lottery?
Oh, lump
You were going to
sum
say
or
something.
lottery or on the lottery, I would take a lump sum, but I would have sat down with a financial advisor so that we could start moving money into protected or some security, making sure I had a well balanced portfolio.
Yeah.
I would, obviously would invest in a real estate for me. I would buy property, income
Yes.
property,
Yes.
and then have some to set aside for all those little other things that you want to spend your money on, and then
Yeah.
take care of certain family members. But primarily the bulk of it, but I because you're gonna hit half of it is going to go into taxes,
Yes. Very true.
right?
Very true. Very true. Whether you get a lump
Eh,
sum or not, right?
where you
Half
get
of
a
it's
lump
going
sum or
into
not.
it.
My brother-in-law was so upset when he got his pension. He got his last final checks. I think I may have mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and he was just livid because they lumped it all into one check, all his
Oh, yeah.
vacation, all of his whatever sick time, whatever they had, whatever bonuses they
Yeah.
lumped it in. And I always think that's so cruel. When I was
Yeah.
processing payroll for when I worked in corporate America, I would always go, okay, if I knew they were going to retire, or even if I knew they were going to leave the company, and they had been there for years and years and years, I would say, hey, let's sit down and look at the variations. I can give you a lump sum, but let me calculate it so you'll see how much taxes are going to come out. But I can take the check and I can just do your payroll check, your regular payroll check, the bonus check, and the vacation check separate,
Right.
and then we can see exactly what that's going to look like. And usually on those back ends, I always said, unless, especially if it was like in the end of the year, let's go down to uh, take 99 deductions. I mean,
Yeah.
99 dependents, right? So that you can get as much back, because you still can go do your taxes. If you've been paying into the system,
Sure.
then you and your tax person can work out that difference.
Right.
But most of these people will not do that, and they will take out, and you lose literally half of the check. It hurts. That's like somebody kicked you in the stomach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And we used to see that with 401k plans. I think one of our do not be this guys was, once if you're going to retire, don't take that lump sum and stick it in your bank, right? Because
Yeah.
let's say you've got 4 or 500k in that lump sum. You just increased your income to 500k plus whatever you generally make. You're going to get taxed at
Mhm.
that level, and that's the amount
Mhm.
that you're going to have to pay. And that hurts when you could move it all into that IRA, no taxes,
Right.
no tax consequence at all. Set up some type of payment plan or even buy an
Mhm.
annuity and
Mhm.
live on that money instead of paying it to Uncle Sam. So for me, I
Right.
say that depending on the person, there's no wrong answer. So that's why I asked you, no right, no wrong answer. Some people,
Okay.
usually their family lives till 70 and they die, and they don't want to mess with making an investment, so they just take the money, and then once that money runs out, they're
Mm.
hopefully dead, and so they don't have to worry about what happens to the paycheck. If that's your deal, that's your plan, then so be it. Most of us
That's
don't
a hell of
really.
a plan.
Most of us don't have that luxury
Right.
of passing away in 5 years. So for most of us, it's best to do like you said, take that money in a lump sum, go to a financial advisor, figure out what's going to happen, or go to a financial advisor, then take the money and figure out
Mhm.
what you can do and how they can help you plan for your life dreams. So that's what I would say is lump sum and
I
advisor. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you just can't take, we hope, I mean, I don't know if that's a luxury that you're going to die in 5 years, but, and that you don't care anything about the fact that after you leave the people you leaving are going to be fighting like cats and dogs over the little pennies because you have it not taken care of.
Yeah,
And that's something
exactly.
else we'll talk about. And we did talk about that a little while ago with the wills and trusts, but I think even that, really thinking out what you want to leave to everyone, even though you don't have a lot of money, it's really good to lay it out really clear. And it's probably a better way, and I think we talked about this with your friend, with the guy that was on, sitting
Gary.
down, Gary, and telling everybody, this is what I'm leaving you, so everybody know up front, this is what we're getting. And so there's no somebody tried to take something, or
Yeah.
bamboozling or any of that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. I just think, what's your favorite thing? Plan.
Planning. Yes. You
Planning.
you have to plan.
You
Have to
have to
plan.
plan. So I think it's very important for people just to plan out. And sometimes this is just not the best conversation that people want to have, which is why we're having it on the patio.
Yeah,
But it's a necessary conversation.
it
It's a
is.
necessary conversation. Everything
Yeah.
that we talk about.
Yeah, and I think if you do it, and correct me if you're wrong, but if you do it enough, you do it to where it's because things change, things happen, then
Mhm.
it'll get easier, right? And then
Mhm. Mhm.
you can avoid some of those heartaches.
Right. And then share, because you and I probably come from a era where our parents' financials was not something that they sat around at the dinner table and discuss with us, but but I think
Hmm.
it's important that in this new world that we should have these conversations, appropriate conversations, but also teaching our children how to be more, understanding the financial literacy of money and planning it out and what the future, the living in the now and the future.
It's so true. And, especially because your children are most likely going to be living in that future with you, they need to know what you're going through. They need to know what decisions were made, what that plan looks like, so that they can
Hmm.
help that happen, right? And so that
Hmm.
you don't go through the stresses that are bound to happen alone. There's no reason to go through that alone. And it's not
Right.
like they're not going to go through it themselves. So having some experience about it, making that plan and negotiating that, it's very important and very helpful for everybody. I think, again, I got to say, like our friend, um, uh, our reverse mortgage friend,
Oh,
Tony,
Tony. Uh-huh.
Tony said, it's a family thing.
Hmm.
It's not just one thing. It's a family thing. Is this going to be
It's
good
a
for the
family
family?
thing. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
All righty. So that was a great note to end out. It's a family thing.
It's a family thing. There you go. There you go. All right. So hopefully this did go live on Facebook, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and see everyone next week. Let me put in that last tidbit for who we are with conversations on the patio. So everybody, you've been listening to me, Javon Thomas. I'm a registered retirement advisor, and you've also been listening to my friend and co-host Crystal Mitchell. She's a business coach consultant, a CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's a co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, co-host of the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, a weekly radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College. She's the A certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and she's a QuickBooks their pro advisor, financial strategist.
You
Man,
got
I
it
don't know.
all the way, all the other two times, and then that time. But yeah,
Ugh,
that's who I am. So,
that's goodness.
all of that to say that I care about the people that I coach and work with, and I just make sure that I increase my information and experience so that I could share it back with everyone else.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, that's it for us, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Crystal.
All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy President's holiday, and we'll see you next Monday at noontime.
There you go.
Conversations on the patio with Javon and Crystal. Bye bye.
Bye now.